Thank you, Johnny. We're on 19 now. Really, the other one could get away with anything, with nothing. It's only we make a gzer midrabanan. Gzer mishum shama yomru. People will think shtei yevamos avos b'shmei datim. If you have two brothers, and to two other brothers, you might think that I have to do is miyabim one and the other is potter. We can't have that. There, one brother could be miyabim one, and the other brother could be miyabim the other. We're talking about if they're not married to relatives. So not to have people think that the other one can get out with anything, we make exam. The hot time at Rab Shimon Mishum Maimer, the lav Maimer who, but perhaps the reason of Rab Shimon is because he in fact this questions the status of Maimer, the Tanya. Armalem Rab Shimon L'chachami. Imma Mora Shul Sheni Eino Maimer. If the mimer of Shimon wasn't worth anything, so Ashes Rishon Hu Boel, Imam Shosheni mimer. If it was a mimer and therefore that's his wife, Ashes Sheni Hu Boel, he can do Yibum to the second wife. V'Imam Shosheni Eno mimer Ashes Rishon Hu Boel. So Amalei Abaya, the Loshan Lecha Ben Zikas Yavim Echad and Zikas Shnei Yavamim. Don't you see that there's a difference between when there's a Zika only from one brother versus a Zika to two brothers? Maybe Dilma Kiyom Rab Shimon Zika Kiknusa Damya. Perhaps what we said before, that Reuben and Shimon, Reuben dies, and the Zika alone is enough to make that wife a full wife of Shimon, and that's why Levi is born Kivim Yabim either. That's only B'Yavim Echad. That's only if the woman is falling, there's only one woman falling from one brother. But maybe this principle would not work with two women, two houses. Reuben and Shimon marry and they die. Does indeed Rab Shimon show enough gemina between those? Vatanya. Klal Omer Rab Shimon. Kol Sha'aledet Kedemes L'Nesuin. If the birth of Levi occurred before Shimon is miyabim the woman, so then loy choletes v'lo misyabemes. It's eishes achiv shlaya b'olomo. However, if Shimon does actually marries the woman, the suing kodim l'leida, so then he finds her in a state of heter when Shimon dies as a married woman. We don't have to worry about Reuben. My love b'yavim echad. Aren't we talking about there's only one brother that dies, and there's still an erva like Eishes Achiv Shlai B'Olomo? The Gemara says low. Bishnei Yevamim. We're talking about Ava b'yavim echad mai. If there's only one brother, so Hachanami Oichoy Letis Omis he has a choice. If that's the case, why did the Brisa say Adatani Nisuim Koimin Leda Oichoy Letis Omis? Why did you say if Shimon marries her and then Levi's born, he has a choice? Liflog Velisne Bididei. If you're identifying that Rabbi Shimon already has a different shita even earlier on, he should have argued initially and said Bamedvar Mamorim. When it's not when there's Zika is not kiknusa, b'shnei yavamim. Aval b'yavim echad it is kiknusa dami, and therefore oichol letis omis yabemis. So the Gemara says no. Kula b'shnei yavamim kumayru. We're talking about two brothers dying and two women. So elamai klala. So then what's the klala that Rav Shimon is saying? And v'od masif Rav Oshai. Shloisha achim, Shnayim and Nesuin Shnei Achai. Reuben, Shimon, Levi. Reuben and Shimon are married to two sisters. O Isha Ubita. Reuben and Shimon is married to a woman, and Shimon is married to the woman's daughter, O Isha Baspita, or a woman and her granddaughter, from either her son or her. What's unique about these? All of these are ervis if they fall together. You're not allowed to marry both of these women. You can't marry two sisters in her lifetime. You can't marry a mother and her daughter in her lifetime. So therefore, it's an erva. There's no yibum, there's no chlitza. The Rab Shimon poiter. Excuse me. Chlitza is required, but not yibum, right? Because it's achoziku kaso. Rab Shimon says there's a tour. There's nothing. There's no yibum or chlitza. Now, the Isal kedaitik of Rab Shimon, zika knusa damia, that the zika relationship is as if he already did yibum. So liyabim lekamais of etipoter either. So it's already kiknusa dami. So let him dim yibum to the first one, and the other one will be potter. Amar of Amar, my poiter nami poiter b'shni. That's what he means. The second one is potter, not both. I vatani Reb Shimon poiter b'shtein. We have a bride that says Reb Shimon potter is both. Amar Rav Ashniya shebezugzev, Ashniya shebezugzev, meaning the second wife, the second woman that falls of each pair. Now, Katoi Rava ba'arba zugi. Rava misunderstood a case of four brothers. Chada de o oktani. Now, let me. I need. I'm freezing. Are you hearing me? Okay.
The sound is a bit rough.
Okay. I hear you fine.
Hear me fine.
I can hear you fine.
I need to get.
It's disjointed, but I can hear you.
Okay.
It freezes and unfreezes.
Okay, so let me move it to
Get a sweater.
Let me move it to a different location.
Harold, you didn't catch that, Harold. I didn't throw it. Your sense of humor is way above. Way above or way below. One or the other. I told him to get a sweater. That was how was the golf today? Excellent. Thank you. Ernie was there. Ernie was on fire? Oof. We missed you at the installation. I sent a nice note to Egelman, believe me. I had a blintz in your honor. We should have had two, but I had two. I heard it was a short program. Hour and a half. But it was good. Rabbi Krauss was very funny. Rabbi Krauss is great. He was funny. He's good stuff. You write these lines for him, or? No, I asked him. I need him to write my lines. He had some good stuff. Listen, it's very. He did a great job, Rabbi Krauss, and nice transition. Yeah. It was done correct. It was done the right way. So what happened to Ernie? He left. Yeah, Ernie's back again.
I'm here.
Oh, good. Okay, good. The lighting changed in the background.
Right. I needed a little bit more light. So you can have a situation where there are four brothers and they have four wives, all of them are related to each other. For example, one brother's wife is a sister of another brother's wife. And he has another wife who is the mother of the other sister-in-law. And maybe the other wife is a granddaughter of one of the brothers. So in each one of these cases, when the brothers die, these women fall to the remaining brother, and that which Rav Shimon pattered was the Shniya Shebezug, the second woman who would be an erva, so there that would be a ptur. But Katoy Rava ba'ar bazugi, Rava didn't understand that case of the 4 pairs. One reason he didn't understand is Chada de O Ktani, because it says O Isha Ubita. So it doesn't mean he didn't understand it meant a case where all were falling at the same time. The Ode, it would have said Rav Shimon Poiter Bar Boson Maboile. It shouldn't just say Rav Shimon Pattered. It should have said Rav Shimon Pattered in all 4 cases. The Ode, and I'll ask you another kasha. Tanya. Rav Shimon Poiter Bishtayen Min Achlitza Umin Ayibum. Both women are potter from Chlitza and Yibum Shenemar, the Isha el Achota lo tikach litzror. Bisha shenasu tzor zulazu. That means when they fall together, biyibum, they're basically falling like co-wives. And yet it says, lo tikach lo yelecha lekuchin. There you can't, there's no kiddushin would not be chal, afilu b'achas man. Which is mashma that both are potter, not that he could do yibum, the other one is potter. So, el amra vashi, I did nafel b'zachar zachanami. You have to describe a case where they're following sequentially. They're not falling all at the same time. But the case that Reb Shimon was referring to, now you have to deal with a case where these brothers are dying exactly at the same moment. Reb Shimon Savarlok Karab Yosi Aglili de Omer Efshal Tzamtzem. There's a debate in Shas. Can you calculate an exact time where 2 things happen simultaneously? So Rabbi Yossi Aglili says yes, Efshal Tzamtzem. The Rabbanan disagree that you can never find 2 events occurring exactly at the same time. But if you hold that that can happen, these wives will fall the vasachas, and then you'll have this problem. Now, Rav Papa Omar, previously we said that Rav Shimon makes no distinction by Eisha Sachiv Shlahaya Ba'ilamo whether or not Shimon had married the woman, the widow, or not married the widow, and Levi is born. Rav Papa learns differently. Biyabim v'achakach noilad polig Rav Shimon. That when Shimon marries the widow of Reuven, and then Levi is born, so that's when Rav Shimon argues with the Chachamim. The Chachamim say if Shimon dies and the women fall to Levi, he can't do Yibum or Klitza to either of them, because that defines Eisha Sachiv Shalab Elamo. But Reb Shimon argues in that case, since Shimon was already married to Reuven's widow, Levi never found the woman Be'isser. He only found her Beheter. However, Benoilad, V'achar kach yibem loy polig. Rav Papa says that even Reb Shimon agrees to the Chachamim that it's Eisha Sachiv Shalab Elamo if at the time Levi was born, Shimon had not married the woman yet. The Tarvayil Rabbanim, both cases are Chiddush for Rabbanim, v'lo zuvav zuktani. It's the structure of not only this case, but this case also. We hold that it's Eisha Sachiv Shalab Elamo. So Rav Papa narrows the heter of Rab Shimon. And Tanya, the Kavasid Rav Papa.
So the Zika would not be like the Zika would really be nothing then if Shimon married the widow or before he married the widow. Why don't we say the Zika was strong enough like he actually performed Yavam with her? and therefore Levi would be prohibited because of the Zika.
Because we said we were not sure. We brought a barisa that said, according to Reb Shimon, mimer and Zika was not enough to make her like a knusa damya.
So he just holds on the other, like the other way. Okay.
So it's not enough to make her a knusa, to make her as if it's his wife.
Yeah.
And therefore, in Rav Papa's version, Rav Shimon agrees with the Chachamim that describes Eishes Achiv Shlaya B'Lamo. It's only when Levi is born after Shimon is miyabim her that Rav Shimon argues with the Chachamim and says that if Shimon dies, he can do yibum to either of those women. Or in the Chachamim, it's Eishes Achiv Shlaya B'Lamo. So that's a major machlokas that we're going to have throughout Shas. We have to keep that in mind. That it's always Rav Shimon who will argue with them on as long as Shimon had done yibum already to Reuven's wife. But if he hadn't, it is Eishes Achiv Shlo Be'olam. Tanya Kavosed Rav Papa to Rav Oshai. And there's a brisa to support the way Rav Papa learns. Shnei Achim Bo'olam Echad. You have Reuven and Shimon who are alive. Reuven dies and he didn't have children. And now Reuven's widow falls to Shimon. Shimon sort of gets himself ready to do mimer. Yesterday in shul, we learned this sugya very carefully. We understand mimer is like kiddushin. So it's more than Zika. It's Zika plus. But he didn't do mimer yet. So all there is here is Zika. Lo yispik lasses po mimer. He didn't do the mimer. Ad shenoled lo ach. Levi is now born. And Levi is born where Shimon had done nothing to her. All there was Zika. Umeis. And now Shimon dies and falls to this Levi who was born. So Harishona, the original widow of Reuven, Yoitze Mishamesha Sachar Shla Be'olamo. The first wife is an Esha Sachiv Shla Be'olamo. Because we'll see, according to everybody, even Rab Shimon, that would be the case. Now, what about Shimon's other wife? Ushniya, Oy Choyletzes, O Misyabemes. Because remember, Reuven never did anything to the widow of Reuven. Shimon never did any act. He wanted to do mimer. If he would have done mimer, he wouldn't have been allowed to do yibum, but he'd have to do chlitza. Because mimer is kiddushin derabbanan, there would have been a connection to the Eishes Achiv Shla Be'olamo to Shimon along with his, which would have made a problem for the co-wife. But right now, there's no problem for Shimon's original wife because he never did anything. All there was Zika. Zika is not enough to create a problem for the tzara. Everybody's with me on that? Shimon is married to a woman, and Reuven dies, and the widow falls to Shimon. But he didn't do anything. He didn't. If he would have done mimer, so it creates a little bit of a co-wife. So it's an Eishes Achiv Shlo Be'olamo, and as an erva, it would at least, because mimer is not like marrying her. It's not like doing yibum. If he had done full yibum to her, to Reuven's widow, then of course the tzara is potter, because this is a mamish and erva. But he didn't do anything. It was just Zika. Zika is not enough to ruin the tzara. Right? That's why shniya or choletzes or misyabemes. Oh, now also b'maimer, Reuven died and Shimon is married to another woman, and now he does mimer to Reuven's widow. So at least midrabanan they're married. And then of course Levi, v'achakach noiled ach, and then Levi is born. But remember, he didn't. It's not keknusa damya. We'll see. He didn't do yibum. He just did mimer. Oh, shenolad lo ach. Levi is born. V'achakach also b'mimer. Umeis. Shimon dies. Again, harishoyne yoytzu mishumesha sachim shel be'olamo. Regarding Levi, it's an eshes sachiv. Even Reb Shimon will hold of that. It's only if Levi had actually done Yibum to her that he would find her beheter. So there's no question that the widow is Eishes Achim Shel Beilama. Now, what about Shimon's other wife? We're learning properly. When we learn Yevamos, we should always speak out the cases and answer what we think it is before the Gemara says it. That tests us that we know the Yisoidos properly. Since Maimer created a Kiddushin Drabanan, so it's as if it's a little bit of a tzara. The Eishes Achim Shel Beilama is a little bit of tzara to Shimon's wife, to the point that he's not allowed to do Yubim, but the Chlitzat requires Midoraisa, because the Maimer is only Mirabanan. Now, Reb Shimon's Shita, which will prove that what Rav Papa's point is, we'll learn tomorrow.
Yeah.
I know we're a blot behind, but listen, we must go slowly in Yevamos. Otherwise, it's just like reading in the Luft. I hope all of you agree with me. If we just
Very much
Agree.
so.
huh?
Yes,
Agree.
very much so.
Yeah, let's try to understand as best as we can. We're not gonna, but as best as we can, we should try. Okay,
Fair.
everybody.